my presentation will be on the Assyrian Youth Group. I will just share it in a second. Okay. Great. So together apart, it's kind of like the main topic. But what I'm going to discuss tonight is a bit of holistic approach of starts that takes when working with the community, and specifically during the remotely working during the lockdown time, and plus how we maintained connection with the community, especially young people, and how we shifted our work from face-to-face, to working online or remotely. So if we look at STARS and how we work, it's actually STARS value the community and its members, and we listen to them, and we run. What we do is we try to empower and make a decision together, and actually give them the power to make their own decision through consultation and other community activities. We promote trust, which was most of the time destroyed by state terrorism, and encourage community connections. So that will take us to an approach that STARS adopted years ago about social capital, that is specifically talking about how we create and we recreate the social relationships and connection between the members of the community first, and then between the community itself and a wider society, and then how we enhance the well-being, and how those resources can be actually embedded in the community. So I used that approach to work with the group that I was working with. So I started this group last year, early this year. But before we come to the group itself, I just want to tell you about the target group. So I started working with the Assyrians, just to let you know, as Nuria said, I use a lot of we. And because I'm Assyrian myself, I use the we a lot. So Assyrians, the group that I work with are from Assyrian background. So Assyrians are the indigenous people of Mesopotamia. They descended of Assyrian Empire. They speak modern Assyrian, which is the Neo-Aramaic. The majority are Christians. One thing we have to think of is Assyrians, we are not Arab or Kurds. That's very important when we work with them. Yes, they do speak other languages than Assyrian, but they are not Arab and they are not Kurds at all. And they've been persecuted. We are stateless and being persecuted specifically for their ethnic and religious background. And lately, in the last few years, especially in 2014 and 2015, they were targeted by ISIS in Mosul and in Syria. So it was for the first time in 7,000 years that the holy city of Assyria, the Nineveh city, was emptied from Assyrians. And that was really painful and very deeply hurtful for our community. So our ancestors' land, as is showing in this map, is, at the moment, lays between Iran, Turkey, Iraq, and Syria. So the group members comes actually from those countries, to be honest. So we've got young people who are age of 16 to 24. The group is a mixed gender. They've been here for less than 2 years. And most of them, they've been, exposed to a traumatic event or associated with that. So the group named Bahra, and Bahra in Assyrian means light. And the reason that the young people chose the name is they said to me that they saw light and they came to Australia. And when they came here, Lightwater was really helpful for them. And that's why they want to carry on this light and help other young people. So from this point, we started working closer and closer. And how we started, it was actually very interesting as well, is in mid last year, in 2019, we ran a camp with Assyrian youth, okay? And then as the outcome of this camp, they decided to form a group, and then we helped them with that. And that group officially we started meeting with them early this year. And then we had a couple of meetings, and then the pandemic started, and then the lockdown in Sydney. So we kind of like postponed it, but then we thought about it. Do we really to postpone? Do we really need to sit home and do nothing? So we organized a meeting with them, and we discussed our objectives before and after. So the objectives of the group before the pandemic started and we started working remotely with them is they wanted to be really physically and emotionally nourished, okay, and able to participate as a citizens in this society, like a full-on citizen, and be engaged in decision making, okay, and share ideas within their group and with the wider society and with other young people as well, and to have fun together. So that was the idea. And to make it even a bit smaller, they wanted to basically run another camp and plus plan for the Assyrian New Year for 2021. So we said, okay, we've got 2 projects to work in, and we will start, and then we were hit with the pandemic, unfortunately. So we moved to work from face-to-face to working remotely and creating this digital youth work kind of approach. And then I started looking at how we can move, because the move is not an easy thing. Okay, yes, I do have the skills to work on a face-to-face, but I need to be very fast within 1 week to move to work remotely on digital platforms. So I have to look at organizational policies, at online safety policies, online code of conduct. Do we have them in place? How we can create them, what we can adopt. And that was quick in 1 week. And meanwhile, I'm in contact with those young people. Do we need to meet again? Do we need to go ahead? And young people were very eager, to be honest, to meet. But there was one shift in there, and how I can do it. It was being a Syrian helped me a lot, because we already have the trust. That was something very obvious, among us. And plus, I know the history and the community a lot. And I know I can understand the implication of generational trauma that the community went through in the last 100 years. And then plus I understand the dynamic and divisions, because Assyrians, as you say in the earlier map, that we come from different countries, and we had our own, and we are a tribal community, and we had a lot of division, whether they are religiously or politically. But I understood all these, and I kind of like a contain and try to have that platform that bring us all together. So we met, we decided that we're going to meet, and then we're going to discuss how we're going to go ahead, because we don't know how long we're going to work, remotely, and how long this lockdown will stay or the pandemic will stay. So the objectives change to become needs. Okay. So instead of looking, being helpful, we started thinking on how we can stay connected and how we have fun, okay, remotely, and make sure that all of us are all right. And that was very, very important for them. That's why one of the participants said, feels good to know you are thinking of me. Okay, because we used a lot of platforms to use, to communicate. So that was something very powerful. And they actually came up with those words themselves. So what we tried to do is we looked at what we've got and what we've been using already, and how we can, introduce other methods as well. So WhatsApp was already in place, because we used to connect and communicate through WhatsApp, and that stayed. And then I introduced the Instagram, because the youth team at Stats had the Instagram. So I asked them to follow the Instagram so they can receive information. And we did, during the lockdown of pandemic, we did challenges, stay home challenges every couple of weeks, and they were very active. And then I introduced to them Zoom. And that was something they never experienced, they didn't know before. So Zoom was our way of meeting. So we decided to meet, and our first meeting on Zoom. Agenda was really big, but it was really interactive and very laid down. So we did a check-in. We talked about the positive things that happened in the first week or 2 weeks of lockdown. And then we talked about one thing we know about COVID-19 and one thing we would like to know. And then we were exchanging information and referring to the information that I've got, that starts collected in different languages. And specifically, I looked at the Assyrian and Arabic, languages. But the main question was, is there a need to stay connected? That was the major question. And we had real long discussion about it. And then at the end, they said, yes, we need to meet. We need to know how everyone is feeling. And we need to check on everyone. And we need to feel good. So we decided, okay, if we're going to stay, Zoom will be the way to go. So, and during that, we're doing this meeting on Zoom, so they're knowing all the functions of Zoom and everything. And then we brainstormed some activities for them on what what we can do online and what we can't do. And then, because we were pre-pandemic, we were planning to have the camp, so we decided on how we're going to choose the camp committee and to go, how to go ahead with that while we are on lockdown. And then we created an agenda, which is more interactive. This time, we got all the information from the first meeting and we worked on them. So we decided that we're going to meet fortnightly for 2.5 hours. Sometimes Wednesday, sometimes Friday, sometimes we start at 4 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock. There was no specific time. We were very accommodating every single person's need. And that was all done through, WhatsApp. So I became so fast in writing in WhatsApp. So I've never done it before. So there was the three main segments in those meetings, and everybody enjoyed, was the 3x3, the 3 questions in 3 minutes. So I prepare 3 questions every week, and they have to answer it in 3 minutes and then show the answers, and then we will, check which one is right, which one is wrong. And the second one was the main game. We called it main game. It was the main activity. And that was very, very powerful because young people chose the activity and young people planned for it. Sometimes I will add some, flavor here and there. So one of the activities was actually yoga. Yoga, because one of the participants practices yoga, and she actually suggested that yoga will be very helpful for us during this time of lockdown, and then it will help us to keep fit and mentally well. So she actually did a session of yoga with us, and it was really empowering because we are using again the skills of those young people. We're not dismissing anything. We are utilizing their skills and empowering them, okay, to help other young people and the members in the group. And the other activity that was very popular is we decided that we're gonna learn a dance that we don't know. Because Assyrians are tribal, so each tribe had their own dance and their own music. So I suggested to them, let's not just learn a dance, let's do a project. So let's go for over 2 or 3 weeks, it doesn't matter. Okay, and the project was that we go back, we look at we research our tribal, background and find the dance and find the music if we don't know it, or if we know it, we find more information about it. And then we will come and each one of us did 3 minutes presentation about the dance and the music, and then we chose one dance and we learned the dance online, and it was just fantastic. It was actually a very good time, and everybody felt happy, healthy, kind of like engaging. It was just beautiful. And then we got the last segment was actually every week, the last 40 minutes or half an hour, depends how much it's left. We use it as a diwani, we call it in Assyrian, or gahwa. It's a chat time. And we chat about anything. But there was some rules that they put themselves right at the beginning. On the first meeting with them, we had our rules for the group. And they said few things. They said, we don't want to talk during this chat time specifically anything to deal with COVID-19, politics, or religion. This is our time, and this is where we wanted to recharge and feel good. Okay, so recharge from all the negativity that was surrounded, around us. So we agreed all together on those rules. And one of the projects that I brought up with them and they liked it, it was how I can keep them engaged when we are not meeting. So that was another thing. So how they can be engaged when we are not meeting. We're meeting every couple of weeks or every week. But what about the rest of the week? So I researched about virtual museums, and if there is any, and I found a list of them. So created the list, and I printed some painting from very famous painters and shared it with them and asked them if they know it and they know the history. Many of them they didn't know, except for, let's say, the very famous one like Mona Lisa or so forth. And so that was their homework. They took it home. Okay, and for 2 weeks they were, going through those virtual museums and learning more about a lot of art and a lot of history and other things. And they were really happy. They were saying that it's really good time. It's actually taking us out of all this, mess that we are in. So, but not everything was always rosy and beautiful. We did have a lot of hiccups as well. Okay, so the lack of human connections was always brought an issue with us. The changing of time, because I have as well to manage that, changing the time from 4 o'clock. I have to check if someone else is using Zoom at 4 o'clock, then I have to use it at 5 o'clock. So that was one thing. Policies and procedures and updated equipments. The technology itself isn't working. So many hiccups. NBN is not working. Okay, camera is not working and all this stuff and interruptions, especially working from home. Assyrians are very social people. We don't have the rule of you have to call me before you come and knock my door. Yeah, you knock the door and I have to take you in and feed you. So at any time, someone will come and knock the door and get in, and I am in the middle of the meeting because I don't have an office. It's just in a room. Okay, the sitting room. So that was some of the hassles in there. But the good thing about it was, and the hardest one, it was the shift from working from face to face to working remotely with the young people was the biggest challenge because we have to do it in 7 days. But this wouldn't happen if there was no trust and connections between staff and the young people and among the young people themselves. So that was established way before we started working remotely as well. This comes kind of like to the end of my presentation, but I'll leave you to read a couple of self-report that the young people, reported, and I was registering along the way. My favorite, to be honest, is "We are Assyrian, Corona can't beat us," and it was really a good laughter about it. And some of the things that the young people reported as well is they said to us that that the time that they're spending at home with their sibling and parents gave them more understanding and they connected better with them. That was something very interesting. As one of the boys said here, his guitar skills, they were strengthened because he got more time to practice. And another one who was whose drawing, were very good because while we were on Zoom, he was actually drawing the portrait of another girl in a group. So that was really interesting to see how comfortable and connected they are. And they stayed connected even during, the pandemic, during the lockdown and working remotely with them. But that didn't stop us from thinking even for the future. So the future that we were working toward is planning for the camp committee to organize the camp, and we did that. And we are now thinking to run the camp training, face to face. and meeting again face to face. And during this time as well, I secured some money from the local council to run the camp for them. So, and plus to be able to pay full camps, they were ready to do fundraising among themselves, okay, to pay the differences. So that's the story about Bahra Group. So thank you very much for listening. And if you got any questions, you can ask in the Q&A. Thank you very much, everyone.